Hi there, friends. It's Alex at Wake Up to Wellness, and I just returned from a weekend convention in Seattle, Washington for the Univera annual convention, and I had an opportunity to be in workshops and presentations with some world-class talent. And today I want to talk to you about something that I haven't talked about before, and that is the connection between health and finances, the connection between wealth and wellness. I want to talk about it on a global, larger scale, and I want to talk about it on a personal scale. I was very privileged to get to do a training session with famous economist Paul Zane Pilzer. If you know the name of any economist, it's probably him. He got started at a very young age. He was a professor at one of the Ivy League universities, also at a very young age, a presidential advisor, and he's worked with many different companies. He's written 8 best-selling books. He's a really entertaining and interesting guy. And fortunately, at some point in his career, not too long ago, um, he suddenly started taking an interest in wellness. And I'll tell you why, just as she shared with me. He was just, completely absorbed in the world of finance and economics for decades. And one day he opened his eyes and looked around and saw that in the time that he had been taking an interest in money and the economy, that the world around him had become very ill, and that all the money in the world really couldn't make them healthy. So the prevalence of childhood disease had increased dramatically, of obesity, of diabetes, of cancer, on. And that as the pharmaceutical companies were growing in wealth to become the single wealthiest industry in the world, the health of the consumers that it served was consistently going down year after year. And this got his attention at some point. He's written a book called The Wellness Revolution. And he also really got my attention because, Paul and I have something in common, and that is he didn't think about wellness for the longest time, and I didn't think about money for the longest time. And now I'm really seeing the connection between the two with much more clarity than I ever have before. I was shocked to learn that the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States now is illness. The number one reason why people file bankruptcy in the United States right now is because of the costs associated with job loss from illness, disease, and the cost of the treatments associated with that. He talked about the sickness industry. He refers to the pharmaceutical companies and hospitals and everything associated with conventional medicine as the sickness industry. And he calls it that for good reason, because from an economist point of view, the wealthier this industry becomes, the more sick the population becomes. And so he shared with us that 1/6 of the economy of the United States is the sickness industry. 1/6. Only 1/10 of the economy is the food industry, the necessity of life. 1/10 is the food industry, and 1/6 is what he called the sickness industry. The other really disturbing thing that he shared with us in the room, is that there is a direct and conscious connection between the food industry and the sickness industry. I'm not going to go into great detail about what he shared, but the bottom line is that a lot of the food that's being processed right now is being manufactured in a way to create the exact combination of tastes, chemical reactions in the body through artificial flavorings, through chemical manipulation, through the use of fats, sugar, salt combinations to make us insatiable. So that when we begin eating the food, it's very difficult to stop, and so that we very purposely overeat and consume too much of that food. And you can see how obviously that's connected with the sickness industry. Paul Zane Pilzer is now interested in the wellness industry, which he says will be a $1 trillion industry by 2012 and possibly sooner. And he describes his definition is wellness is what you do to keep from becoming a customer of the sickness industry. Now let's bring it down to a more personal level. I want to talk about how our personal financial situation impacts our health, and I think it's probably pretty obvious to you that the stress associated with a lack of finances and with the limitations and the worries and concerns around money really can make us sick. It's probably one of the number one things that people worry about. I know it certainly was the number one thing. It wasn't the only thing, but it was certainly right up there at the top of things that I really worried about in times when money's been low. And that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that worry and anxiety and fear is very harmful to our health. It increases stress hormones like cortisol. It robs us of beneficial hormones like DHEA. It degrades our immune function. It increases the rates of cellular damage in the body, and it decreases repair. It's just bad news all around. So there is a very obvious connection on every level between our wealth, and by that the ability to provide for ourselves, and our health and wellness. And you know, we're going through a time of incredible change right now. Everything in society is changing, and that speed of change, the rate of change, is increasing with every passing year. One of the things that I really believe beyond a shadow of a doubt is that we are in the midst of an enormous changing hands of wealth, resources, finances in the world right now, that over the next 2, 5, 10 years, an incredible amount of wealth that's been held by certain people or industries is going to change hands, and that it's all part of the larger changes that we see all around us. And as far as I'm concerned, I want to see that change of hands result in more and more money and more resources coming under the control and the choice and the management of people who are conscious, people who are committed to creating wellness not only in their own lives, but wellness on this planet to heal ourselves. I want to see that money come into the hands of people who are committed to community, who are want to bring creative solutions to help us clean up this mess we've created on the planet. And I think it's absolutely imperative that those of you that perhaps have never thought about money or the accumulation of wealth, you are exactly the people that I want to see acquiring greater wealth, greater control over the resources of our future, because I know that the choices that you're going to make are going to be healthier, are going to be more aligned with wellness, and are going to help to heal this planet and create the kind of world not based on the one that we've had, but an entirely new reality that will bring greater health and wellness to all of our children and our grandchildren and generations to come. So I ask you to look at your own connection between wellness and between wealth, and to ask yourself, am I willing to be wealthy to help heal the world? Have a great day.